Hello, welcome everyone to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I am in the book of Job and I will be covering chapters 21 right through to chapters 27 today. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let us get started. So in our last chapter, it was Job's friend Zophar who spoke, and he said that his suffering that he's going through right now is because he has sinned and he needs to repent. And that's what all of his friends have been saying so far. So now Job speaks and he says, listen carefully, hear me. He's hoping that they will actually hear him if they just stop what they're saying and actually really take on board his words. But he also has this underlining feeling that once he said what he says, they're going to mock him again. He says, is my complaint against man? Because no, it's not. It's God. It's where is he? That's what he's asking throughout all of this. And he says, look at me, because it's like, look at where he's at. Look at his fragility, where he stood. This is your friend. Look at me. And he asked them to be astonished. It's like they weren't seeing Job, their friend, anymore. They were just seeing what they thought was right in their heads, that, you're a sinner now, and that's all they can see. It's like they're not seeing the true, come on, I'm your friend. You've known me all of these years. Look at me. Look at where I am. Do you really believe this is where I should be right now? And so he looks at their values, their beliefs, and he says, so if you agree that the wicked can have good things, which is what they've said, can't you also see that the good people can also endure great suffering? Which has been many the case. We see in the evil that they can suddenly have luxuries in life, but it then is twisted. Overall, God will punish, but also the good can suffer as well. Look at how the poor, can suffer greatly. So he's trying to pull on those understandings with his friends. He's challenging those deep-set beliefs from a different vantage point. He says the wicked, though, refuse to let God in. They say, depart from us. That's how they stand. But that, he says, I would never do, because he wants God. He's calling for him. And he says wickedness is never rewarded by God. It always ends in punishment. He says the wicked don't care about their children because of their sins, because often in God's laws, their children can suffer for what they have done. And he's trying to understand this with God, he sometimes lets the wicked go and it's their children that then suffer. And he wants God to let the wicked see their wickedness, see God's wrath and have their lives cut in half. He wants them to suffer now because he is suffering so greatly right now. And that's what he's questioning of God. Why doesn't he punish the wicked sooner? But he also acknowledges that God knows best and there's always a reason for why he does what he does. And he asks, why is it that the good and the evil both end the same way? Death is the ultimate ending for the good and the evil, for us all. He's just really doing this deep soul searching and trying to understand why God does what he does. And then he says to his friends, look, I know your thoughts, because he can see their faces and obviously they're not agreeing with what he's saying. And then he says again, why are the wicked not punished sooner, nor questioned in their evil acts? Yes, the wicked die, but for some it's a bonus. And he sees his friends have no answers. Their answers are just empty to him. And he ends this poetic ending saying, since falsehood remains in your answers. So he doesn't believe that they're calling forth the truth in how they are responding to him. And this is where we close chapter 21. Now in chapter 22, his friend Eliphaz, he now speaks for the third time to Job. And he starts by saying, how are you of value to God? Going above his ways, claiming yourself to be righteous, making your ways blameless. He says, you, Job, are no longer fearing God, so you are judged. You are cruel, you are selfish, and uncaring to the needy and poor. Obviously, none of this is true. He's just starting to put presumptions on him because he really sees that Job is a sinner and he cannot see beyond that now. He says, sudden fear troubles you. Darkness now you fail to see, and an abundance of water covers you. How can you question God who is above the stars in heaven? Are you going to stay in your wicked ways, he asks? Where evil have stepped and many have perished. Similar to the floods of Noah, many who had gone down that path of Babylon when they were building that tower, God decided, I'm going to wipe them all out, the evil, created that flood. So it's the same kind of, he's calling back on history. He says, the righteous rejoice in God's judgment. So they know who are right. I'm being judged. It knows to turn me back onto the right path. That's what he's saying. And obviously when he's looking at Job, he's not doing that. Job is constantly saying, I have not done wrong. And this is annoying Eliphaz. He's saying, you are refusing to see your wickedness. And he ends his speech saying, now acquaint yourself with him and be at peace. Humble yourself and he will forgive and release you from your suffering. So that's where we end chapter 22. Now in chapter 23 we have Job responding to these words. And he is worn out by his friends' words now. They are not going to be supportive, and he's just at that point. Because Job was seeking God. That's what he's doing. He's just not getting any answers from him. He's never turned away from him. And he wants him to connect with him. He wants to be delivered from his judge, God. Because he seeks vindication and spiritual connection. He says, forward and backward and to the left and to the right, I cannot find him, perceive him, or behold him. I am his devoted servant. I will await his voice. I shall come forth as gold, meaning that good will come out of this horrific situation that he's now dealing with. He says, God is my leader. What he chooses, I accept. I can't force his ways. He is commander and chief. And this scares me because everything is so unknown. And this is where we close chapter 23. And he asks now, he's doing more soul seeking. He says, why are those who follow God kept from knowing his way? How come the wicked seem to prosper? They take from the poor, they take from the weak and vulnerable. Why do these men and women suffer? Why are these sinners not punished immediately? When the weak cry, why aren't the wicked charged by God? There are those who rebel against the light. The murderer rises with the light. He kills the poor and the needy. He hides in the darkness. The morning to them is the same as the shadow of death. It's like they are always living on that darker side of life in comparison to those who are living a righteous life. They are pulling from this dark evilness, and he wonders why they're allowed to carry on in that manner and not punished immediately, like stricken down. Job truly wants God to judge the wicked in his lifetime and not to wait afterwards. And to really get to the core of this and to see his message, I would suggest you check out the link under this video for chapter 24 and go to verses 18 to 21 and you will see the poetic writing of Job there. Because this details how Job sees how they should be judged. But Job knows that God's eyes are always on the wicked. It's not like he doesn't see what's going on. His eyes are always on them. So Job ends this chapter saying, who should challenge me that the good do suffer, that evil do prosper? But all in all, justice will prevail, however long that takes. So he's asking his friends to see that the good do suffer, that the evil do get away with things. And he's trying to get them to see that he is good and that, yes, he's suffering as well, but he's not all evil like they seem to think. But he is sort of putting his trust in God and thinking, regardless of this crazy situation, justice will prevail. And this is where we close chapter 24. Now in chapter 25, these are the final words that Bildad says to Job. And I'm just going to read chapter 25 from the Bible because it's a short chapter, so I'm just going to read as is written in the Bible. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, dominion and fear are with him. He maketh peace in his high places. Is there any number of his armies? And upon whom doth not his light arise? How then can man be justified with God? Or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Behold, even to the moon, and it shineth not. Ye, the stars, are not pure in his sight. How much less man than is a worm, and the Son of Man, which is a worm. And that closes chapter 25. So Bildad clearly still sees that, he should not be questioning anything of God, that he has sinned, that he needs to repent. So it's not changed his outlook either. So Job's final reaction now in chapter 26 to his friend's words. He says, have you truly helped me with your words? A man who is frail and weak in his position right now? Because his friends are too busy being right. That's all they care about now. It's they're right, he is wrong. And they've lost kind of that empathy that his friend, their friend, is truly suffering right now. Where did your words truly come from? I mean, from me looking at it, I would say Satan. And then Job describes God's power poetically. So I would check the link again under this video for chapter 26 and check out verses 5 to 13. And then this chapter ends with, but the thunder of his power, who can understand? How can man comprehend the vastness of God? And that closes chapter 26. And chapter 27 starts with Job saying, yes, God has taken away my justice. And yes, I am bitter about this right now. However, I will never turn wicked. I hold fast to my righteousness, to his truth. This is his truth. And I will not agree with your words that are saying that he is a sinner. So he's saying this to his friends. And Job wants justice for the way that his friends have treated him. They called him a hypocrite because he's pleading he is righteous and when they see him as a sinner. And he says a hypocrite cries for God, but if he does not get an answer, so if a hypocrite doesn't get an answer, he's crying to God, then he kind of turns away and gives up. And he's never done that. He's never felt that. He's always called upon God's wisdom in all of the conversations that we've had in these past chapters. And Job says, not I. I will always call on the Lord. He says, I'll teach you about God, because he's getting to that really deep inner spiritual way now. And his friend's knowledge is kind of like locked in. And their views are not expanded like the universe. And it is real nonsense to Job in his situation right now. Not everything can be seen in black and white. And Job describes how the wicked are eventually punished in various ways he lists in this chapter. And Job is showing here that he agrees with his friends, that sinners should be punished. And we end here with Job saying, you may think my situation is like this because I'm a sinner, but the truth is, I am not. And this closes chapter 27 today. So we've really gone on a deeper and deeper layer of, you can see Job now really questioning inside. He's questioning God's motives, why he does what he does, why he doesn't punish the wicked sooner. And he's trying to find answers within. And obviously his friends are not able to give him these answers. They just see it's black and white. You've sinned, repent. That's all they can see. And they're not going to budge on that fact. So he has to really go within and he's got to be patient and he's waiting. He's waiting for the day the Lord will come back to him and justice will prevail. So this is where we close today's video, and I'll be back again soon with more chapters within the book of Job. So thanks for your time. Hope to see you back here again soon. Take care now. Bye.